Joining us now, Mike Waltz, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Shannon. Good to be with you.
Okay, so I want to start with this. You've worn the uniform. You've been a troop on the ground. So I want to get your take on this conversation that may be necessary in order to get to the enriched uranium we believe Iran has.
Well, look, the Pentagon's job, Secretary Hegseth, Chairman Dan Kane, is to provide options to the president, to have forces that are trained, equipped, in position and ready for whatever he chooses to do as commander-in-chief. President Trump is never going to take options off the table. And I can tell you, as a former special operator, we have forces that are dedicated to handling WMD all over the world, should we have to seize it from a rogue nation or otherwise. But what I can tell you, I'm confident, is that this isn't going to be another 2003 Iraq. There are not going to be hundreds of thousands of troops occupying urban areas somewhere. Certainly not Tehran. But if the president has to dedicate limited options, very focused, very targeted options, I'm confident that's something that the Pentagon, an option that the Pentagon can and will provide him.
Well, to this issue of the enriched uranium that we know about, is it possible to declare an end to this or some sort of victory or mission accomplished short of getting control of that?
Well, again, there's all kinds of options that President Trump can choose. There's diplomatic options. There's the options of seizing it. We'll see what he decides to do with the Iranian leadership, however that turns out. But at the end of the day, he's made it clear that Iran can never have a nuke. And I just want to reemphasize, President Trump has been clear on that point for many years in his 2016 campaign, his 2020 campaign, his 2024 campaign. You would think from all the critics out there that he just kind of invented this red line. In fact, he's been very clear on it. And I think one of the things that the American people wanted when they reelected President Trump was a commander-in-chief that lives up to his red lines, unlike his predecessors in Presidents Obama and Biden. So he's been very clear on that point. And we've seen now by Iran's behavior in shooting in all directions, in threatening its neighbors, in attacking civilian infrastructure, in attempting to hold the world's energy supplies hostage. One can only imagine if they were doing that under their own nuclear umbrella. It's an unacceptable threat to the United States and the world, and President Trump's taken decisive action to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, and I would note it's a point of bipartisan agreement in many ways. Democrats have for decades also been saying that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, at least not the current regime. I want to turn to the Strait.
And Shannon, could I just make one additional point? It's also been a consistent point for the entire world in the United Nations. The UN Security Council has been passing resolution after resolution, sanction after sanction at the UN, stating that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon and taking every measure necessary. And then just this last week, we saw an UN record: 135 countries stand with the Gulf Arabs to condemn Iran on the global stage for its atrocious actions in attacking civilians, hospitals, hotels, ports, infrastructure, airports. And I think that's incredibly important to point out how isolated Iran is. And oh, by the way, Russia and China, which had a chance to veto this resolution, stood back, did nothing, and abstained.
Well, and we know its point of leverage is obviously the Strait of Hormuz, and that is something that continues to be in contention. The president put out on Truth Social yesterday, in part, he says this, that hopefully China, France, Japan, South Korea, the UK, and others that are affected will send ships to the area. There are reports overnight, too, that the UK may have some mine detection drones that may get involved. Any update on where some of those partners may be on actually physically assisting in the Straits?
Well, Shannon, another important point that I think is getting kind of lost in the noise here, 80% of the oil that's coming out of the Gulf is heading to Asia. Actually, thanks to President Trump's energy dominance agenda, only 7, 8, 9% is coming to the United States. So it's absolutely correct for President Trump to call on the world to come help make sure their energy supplies are secure. Enough is enough with Iran holding the world hostage. This goes back many, many decades. You can go back to the 1980s with the what was called then the tanker wars, and you had France, the United Kingdom, even back then the Soviet Union, escorting its tankers out the last time Iran tried to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. So again, I mean, we have to take a step back. President Trump has had enough with admiring this problem. He's had enough with the Iranian regime holding the world hostage in so many ways, either with its missiles, with the Straits, with, God forbid, with a nuclear weapon. And he's calling upon the world to take care of this problem once and for all.
Well, the Strait obviously ripples through the global economy, and certainly here at home. Folks have a lot of questions as they're heading to the gas pumps, looking for that relief in sight. We know there are a lot of moving parts there. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you.